Hello, everyone, and welcome back to NA Dossier. It's always kind of loosey-goosey in our studio. I am Laura Silverman, one of your co-hosts. I'm the founder of Zero Proof Nation, a global non-alcoholic resource hub where we empower you to find non-alc options and community locally and when you're on travel. And we do that with a global map of over 300 alcohol-free establishments ranging from non-alcoholic bottle shops to booze-free bars. I am available to guide you if you want any assistance with your brand, your bottle shop, your bar. I've been working on my pitch.
Yeah.
So I'm here for you and I'm here for this. And I want to bat it over to my gorgeous co-host, Haylee.
Wow.
That's who you are.
Thank you so much. You are good at that elevator pitch.
Well, I've been practicing over the weekend. I'm just saying.
Good. I need to practice mine. I'm like, hey guys, I'm Haylee. I do design. Like,
no, you got this. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Guys, I'm Haylee. I do design. I'm a mindful drinker. Happy to be here again. Our last episode was with Athletic. Super exciting. I'm the co-founder of Studio Supercult. We do brand strategy, identity, and photography for CPG brands. That's that.
That sounds really good. Have you been working on anything super exciting lately?
Yeah. So Sovi, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Sovi, the non-alcoholic wine.
Love.
Yes, very good stuff. We've been working with Sovi for months now, and their rebrand is slowly coming out. So their website's a little bit updated. Some of the package design will come out periodically. The Chenin Blanc is up, the rebrand that I did. I haven't announced this at all. I'm just talking about it today on NA Dossier.
Ooh, you heard it here first, everyone. Oh my gosh, I've only had a little caffeine, but it feels like it's a lot, right?
I know I had to get another coffee before this, but if you go to their Instagram, you'll see the new logo mark, which is sort of this really cool S sort of wine glasses coming together in a cheers, which I am really proud of. Love that logo mark that we did for them. Super happy to see it live. So take a look. We're going to have Sovi on NA Dossier hopefully in the coming months to talk about that rebrand and to get into the details.
Okay, well, I'm super, super excited. Meanwhile, I've been working on some of our banners like everyone is accustomed to. Looks like we've already got some comments from our lovely community. First, we're going to say, Peter, go on, Laura and Haylee. We love Peter and his colleague, Jeff. Hi, Laura and Haylee. They work for a branding design agency as well and do some work in our shared world. So everyone who is tuning in and who's super excited about Free Spirits joining us and getting to know Mylan Martin a little bit, pop some comments in the chat. Tell us where you're tuning in from, what beverages you brought with you for today's call, and let's just get it popping in the chat. Wow, I really feel like I'm on a Sirius XM talk show or something. Like I am feeling myself 100%.
I'm just going to sit back and let you talk today.
No, it's a tag team. We are on it together. So what do you I hear that you've got something fun coming up. Where are you going?
I am taking a road trip to Utah, and I always go on trips. I'm always somewhere, but I'm always working on those trips. So my trip starting tomorrow to a music festival in Utah called Fort Desolation. I'm going to not be working and I'm going to be camping. And I told Laura, I got a blowout to go on a camping trip because I am insane.
You are that girl. Yep.
That's what I'm up to. Yeah.
That is wild. Well, I am so excited for you. And by the way, I just popped our YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. It's getting there, but you can follow us there. Yeah, I went through Utah last year. It's very alien looking, and I absolutely love all the landscapes. So that should be a fun place to go camping.
Lots of desert stuff over here. I'm in Denver, so we have New Mexico, and then I went to Joshua Tree recently, and there's lots of deserty stuff. So more desert, more dryness, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I just came back from Charlotte. I was giving a couple of workshops and speaking on a panel at Drink Less Fest, which was sort of like a mini mindful drinking fest in Charlotte, brought to the wider community by Charlotte Beverage Distribution and the Roaring Social, which is really helping to revolutionize the drinking culture in Charlotte. I've heard from certain people that the South is still catching up, but there is a lot of stuff going on in the Carolinas. Obviously, Sachet, the bottle shop, is in Charleston, South Carolina, and there's a lot going on in Atlanta and Greater Georgia. So yeah, it was really exciting. I gave an intro to NA beer and wine workshop and spoke on a panel about the past, present, and future of the NA world. And of course, that's where I practiced my elevator pitch. I feel like it worked.
Can you tell me one little tidbit of the future of NA that you were teaching on? What was something that
I didn't teach on the future. That was part of the panel. But basically what we all hammered in with each other and to the audience was put this on a menu so people can ask for it. Oftentimes people don't know that they can ask for something. And if it's not there, why should they have to assume that they have to ask? It's all about, as we say, inclusivity and making sure that there are options for everyone, no matter if they are drinking alcohol and alternating, not drinking at all, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And everyone deserves options. So it's about having sophisticated options on the menu and allowing people to ask for it. And again, for the folks who are in hospitality, it was just kind of driving home that you will have higher check averages. You will not be leaving money on the table. And for the community, for the people who were there not in hospitality, it's so that they can feel seen and that they can have options too. And lovely author and CPG founder Tawny Lara says, yes, menu. Everyone go try Tawny's drink, parentheses. It's a botanical elixir, and it is quite fantastic. And maybe we can have Tawny and her husband on NA Dossier in the future. So yay, Tawny. Thank you.
All right.
Shall we bring our special guest on?
Let's do it.
Okay, Mylan, you ready? Give me a thumbs up, and then I will put you on the screen. Okay.
There we go.
Welcome, Mylan.
Nice to see you guys.
Dossier Studio.
Thank you guys for having me. This is really nice. This is how fun is this? I mean, at the end of the day, you know, we could be accountants or doing boring jobs, but we get to do podcasts and talk about non-alc. This is rad.
Yep.
There are some accountants. I've heard that they exist, but they're few and far between.
I love accountants.
Yeah, they're necessary. They provide a necessary service. Yeah, so welcome. Are you in Marin County?
You're in the beautiful Bay Area in Marin County. Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey and somehow over the course of my life managed to find my way to Marin. And I wake up every day kind of expecting somebody's going to kind of look at me and go, yeah, you don't belong here. You need to leave. You need to go back to New Jersey. But that hasn't happened yet. So I continue to enjoy it.
That's nice.
Yeah. I love, by the way, before we get into talking a little bit about your history and what got you here, I love what looks like almost like a drum kit behind you, but I don't think it is a drum kit.
It absolutely is a drum head.
Oh, okay. I'm on a roll today. I'm telling you, folks. Yes. That
was a gift from actually the management team at the Free Spirits Company. We had our offsite, and
cool.
John, who's one of our most creative team members. We're all pretty creative, but John actually designed that logo, which I thought was super cool. And they know that I play drums, and they made it into a drum head for me. And instead of putting it on my drum, I got to put it on my wall.
Yeah.
That's a fun fact. I did not know that. That's very cool. Who's your favorite rock drummer of all time?
I have a hard time between, Led Zeppelin and, in terms of the very different styles.
We lost you. I lost you anyway. You said Led Zeppelin, and I'm hoping you said Ringo Starr.
Rush. I did not say Ringo Starr.
Rush. They do have the. Yeah.
But I think I'm more of a John Bonham, guy than anything else.
All right. Welcome, Ashley. Thank you for coming to our show. Haylee, you want to kick off the questions?
I had a question right off the bat. I read that your background is in advertising. I would love to hear more about your background and what's brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, the advertising world is, as you probably know from the design world, and you really need to be acutely focused on looking out into the world and seeing both rational and irrational behaviors, in terms of consumers. And I think for me, the advertising business was it was a work hard, drink harder business. And, just the amount of times over the course of my life that I was overserved, to put it politely, was too many to count. But, there was never, ever a single time that I ever went out kind of with the intention of getting drunk, or every time I ordered another cocktail, it was always just kind of for that notion of keeping the good time going, keeping the excitement of having great cocktails and great conversation going. It was never on my mind that I wanted more alcohol or that I wanted to get more drunk, right? So, but we keep on ordering cocktails in those situations because there's something so intrinsically wonderful about a cocktail that that we do this irrational thing of harming ourselves by having too much of a good thing. So, I think, for me, the advertising gene, just kind of gave me the ability to look and say, well, that's strange, irrational behavior. I do it. I know a lot of people do it. Yeah. What if alcohol didn't necessarily have to be, the star player of a great cocktail? And, like you guys, I mean, I'm not sober. I am a mindful drinker. And really, free spirits and so many brands in the category have kind of, taken an approach that says, no, this is really about moderation. And, we like to see ourselves as that imaginary little dial that says, hey, I know I'm going to go out and drink a lot of cocktails tonight. I'm going out with that group of friends. That's always a bit of a fire starter. I'm going to drink a lot of cocktails, but you know what? I'm going to dial down the alcohol because I want to get home safely. I want to be a good community member, a good family member. I want to wake up and run, all those things. But I still want to have a big social experience with great cocktails.
Yeah. That whole, as your tagline goes, drink more cocktails, drink less alcohol, or something like that. I think I didn't butcher it totally in our little, banner down below, but I love that. And you have, it blends the branding with sort of the community feel in your amazing video, which I watched earlier today. It has this kind of like 80s, 90s vibe to it, sort of like the narrator of the commercial reminds me of like the protagonist of an 80s or 90s teen movie almost. And it's all about like rage later, rise earlier, drink like a rock star, shine like a superstar, be social or antisocial. I'm saying sometimes I drink beverages by myself, but I don't feel as guilty about it because I am 100% booze free. I do, there's some debate about the word sober, and it has obviously more of a meaning to it for folks that may have had a past with like substance use disorder and are in recovery. But I do like to just call myself booze free, and beverages like free spirits allow for that. And you can give them the bird, which I know we had some questions. Haylee, you want to get in?
Well, you mentioned give them the bird, and then that changed my mind around the whole thing. But I was curious of the symbolism of the bird. I mean, it's called free, so I'm assuming the bird has to deal with all of that. And then I looked at the old branding, and it looked like the bird was kind of breaking some chains. Is that right? And it's different now, but I'm curious of the symbolism. Did you always know it was going to be a bird? Did you have a big part to play in the design?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because at the end of the day, when I started the business, a lot of people ask, well, God, that's a big decision to leave a big corporate job and, dive into the world of any, entrepreneurial venture. But the truth is that it happened so slightly, it's just like kind of baby steps into the water. And next thing you know, you're up to your neck and you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was in this thing. And so, Haylee, to your question about, the design of it, like I did so much of it myself because it was like, all right. And this is just, I think my philosophy on life anyway, is like, you kind of have to punk yourself into those big decisions, right? And you kind of have to go, all right, I'm going to start by creating a website. I need a logo. All right, I'm going to design that logo. Is it perfect? Nope, but it's good enough for now. And brand, you got some design, you've got, all of the elements that are kind of foundational to it. So the early days for me was a little bit more focused on this idea of, coming from the advertising world, I feel a responsibility that the advertising world for a century now has played this trope over and over and over again that if you want to have a good time, alcohol needs to be the star of the party, star of the show, right? And, if you look back at advertising forever, it was always like, hey guys, this party is boring. Who's at the door? Oh, it's Captain Jack, right? And it's like, now it's a party. And so I think for me, it was more of like, hey, this is a brand that represents pushing aside societal norms, or industry norms. And, I think for me, I grew up in, New York City in the 90s and 2000s, where it was still bro culture. And there was plenty of times where I decided to not drink for the night. I'd go to the bar and I'd say, guys, I'm not drinking. I'm just going to, and then people go, oh, come on, dude, why aren't you drinking? What? Come on, just 9 times out of 10, I drank.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was, everything you need to know about us is in our name, Free Spirits. It's like, be confident enough in who you are and in your path to do your own damn thing. And don't listen to friends. Don't listen to, industry or anybody that tells you otherwise. You need to play your own game.
Unless they're true friends and have their, if they're watching your back, you can listen to those people.
Yeah, you got to listen to the folks.
Not your drinking buddies. Those are not always the same as actual.
Right. I think that's a good observation. 100%.
Absolutely.
No,
the cultural, like Mad Men. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to comment on the cultural aspect of it and the brand strategy of it all. Like you said, for 100 years, alcohol has been pushed as something you need to have a good life or to have fun or to celebrate. That alone is so fascinating to look at. And I don't think many people look at it like they don't with most brand strategy things, because they're not brand strategists. They're the consumer. So it's interesting to take a look inside and be like, this is a strategy people are using to sell. Like, you don't need, and everything's free that you could possibly need to have a good time. Right. So
totally.
I think.
Yeah. And what's interesting is I whenever I have it, it's funny. I have this book on my bookshelf that fell last night, and it's 20 years or 100 years of advertising of alcohol and tobacco.
Ooh,
I do love that ad, though. I have to say, it's so cool.
Right. And, there's a couple of
that
things.
A devil?
There's plenty of like doctors that says, like, we recommend smoking Marlboro. And you're like, well, that's absurd. But it wasn't that long ago that the industry was like, hey, a few glasses of red wine a day is healthy for you. And now all of a sudden that's not true. And you're like, so, I think there's a lot to, we as human beings, we want to be a part of a culture, a part of a society. We want to be included. And the drinking piece of it has, the industry and society has managed to make the drinking piece of it a really core, if not the core piece of any great social experience. And our point is, should be. But alcohol specifically doesn't have to be the linchpin to that. It can be, it might not be, maybe a little bit, but we see Free Spirits and we see the categories like it's just that a little imaginary dial that says I'm going to have, full strength cocktails, half strength cocktails, or 0 strength cocktails.
You're empowering people to make the choice on their own instead of the choice being made for them and feeling that pressure.
Yeah,
and it's a really great way to foster a different kind of community. And I wanted to ask you sort of the genesis of your partnership with the New Bar and bringing you to Coachella. And that's like such a cool thing. I got major FOMO by not being there, but were you there? Did you actually go see it in action?
We had a couple team members there. I always fiddle with my wedding ring and I drop it. So apologies when you hear clanks. That's me being OCD. No, so we sent a couple of our team members who were definitely more squarely in that like enjoying big, loud music festival events. But I was really, really happy to be able to partner with Brianda. I mean, she's rad. What she's doing is amazing. I think that what Brianda and team is doing in the broader kind of non-alc bottle shop, I always kind of refer to what they do as kind of the Lord's work. It's like really important that, they are They're proselytizing the word of non-alc. And, that's hard work. That's really, really hard work. It's really where the rubber meets the road. And so, when we had the opportunity to partner with them on that, in the kind of environment that ultimately is, an art and music festival, right? Mm-hmm. And if you think about those art and music festivals, so often it's all about massive day drinking, right? And so by noon, half the people there are blotto, but you're supposed to be able to appreciate this amazing world-class art and this amazing music and all of that. And, you numb it all, by having too much alcohol. So yes. I think for me and for the team on our side of it, it was a no-brainer to, introduce the brand and specifically our RTDs in an environment that says, hey, look at all this wonderful shit around you. Look at all this wonderful, colorful, art and people and music. And now you can have all of that plus amazing cocktails, plus amazing, and not, be the person that is, doing silly things by noon because you've already had, 17 alcoholic drinks.
Yeah, makes complete sense to me as someone that appreciates art and music so much, not numbing yourself for these experiences. Yeah. Going all the way to, the desert to numb yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I just anecdotally, I went to my very first music fest when I was 3 weeks sober. I mean, I had just gotten out of an intensive outpatient program, but I had tickets to the Virgin Mobile Free Fest.
Oh, right on.
And I wasn't going to miss Amy Winehouse, may she rest in peace. I wasn't going to miss the Smashing Pumpkins and Stone Temple Pilots, another sad story there. But there were so many, and the Police, there were so many amazing bands. I love live music. But this was in 2007. So can you imagine what the drinks were for people who didn't drink alcohol? Water. I mean, water, right? Water and Diet Coke. Yeah. And I drank a lot of that, but, and I did feel a little fragile because I did have a history of substance use disorder. I didn't want to be swayed by, all of the heavy drinking around me, but I also didn't want to miss out. And let me just say, the fact that we can have these experiences with great drinks, with cocktails, with beer, with wine, and they don't have to have alcohol in them, and you can remember and you can wake up early or late, but without a hangover. Yeah. It's just, it really makes me feel like we've arrived, and I've been advocating for this movement for so long, and I'm so happy that I'm young enough to still be able to enjoy it now that it's here, Well,
it's just, at the end of the day, and this might sound a little bit, I don't know, but I'll just say it. It's I don't know, the general philosophy is this, this world is just too cool to experience. There's so many things to experience. And I think that, a big active social life and, all of the things that we can kind of breathe in, that's the whole point of what we're trying to do here, I think, as a collective, as an industry, is give people the ability to kind of soak it all in and experience all there is to experience in this life, without compromising, because it's you could always decide to not drink, but the choice was water or cranberry juice, and that sucks. There's a reason why we love cocktails. There's the story behind, that particular cocktail. Where's that bourbon from, or where's the bitters, and who's made it, and what's it called, and how's it taste, and all of that. We love that. We just want to kind of decouple that a little bit from, the notion of giving up control of who you are and your health.
Yeah, cocktails are an art in themselves. So I'm going to pour myself
a little shot of tequila.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
got those B vitamins. I love it. You've got B vitamins and everything, right?
Yeah, curious about functionality.
Yeah, we started out both, all of our products right now, B3 and B6. And in our pipeline, there's some really interesting functional ingredients we're playing with. So we've always kind of reserved the right to say, B3 and B6, promote, really healthful, gut health and some brain health and energy. But it was a starting place for us, right? We run the company kind of like a software company. And so, the tequila you taste now is version, I don't know, 7 or 8, right? And so we're always kind of looking, how do we improve? How do we learn? Because, if I'm totally honest, when we started the business, we were making it up. There was no playbook for non-alcoholic spirits. So, I think that for us to really put out the best products, we needed to embrace a philosophy that and be humble enough to know that what we're doing, even what we're doing today, is just not as good as what we're going to do tomorrow.
Yeah. I do think the tequila is great, though. I love the burn, and I think that's super important. And I know you do as well, that sensation of drinking a cocktail and having that feeling. Laura, you've had the tequila before.
I have. I've had the old tequila and the new tequila. This is the reformulated one. So, you mentioned a little bit about how you are on version 7.0, and I think that's great that you're always innovating and you're always trying something new. Not to mention the rebrand itself. So the rebrand and the reformulation kind of came together at the same time.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm drinking the Free Spirits Kentucky Mule, which is quite delicious. It's got a little bit of warming sensation, but nothing that's too triggering for me. And it's got that lime, and this is what I wish I could have had when I went to a wedding in Louisville all those years ago. And instead, the bartender served me the regular drink, and yikes, that was a bit scary for a second.
Now you can pack them to go in your bag. Wedding.
And now I can pack them to go for sure. And what I love about, sorry, Haylee, what's that?
I was just ranting as usual.
No, you're not ranting, but I love portability. And if people are watching their sugar content, they can always make their own cocktail because you've got these RTDs, which are great for portability, but there are folks that I've met that are concerned about sugar. And I don't know if you're working on a 2.0 of these, maybe with it dialed down just a little bit, but people can always control what they're drinking when they make their own at home.
We when we kind of looked out at the market with RTDs, I think that for us the most important thing is natural ingredients. And, most of us at the company have a real aversion to artificial sweeteners, and I think, you have to kind of find that balance between, people trying to cut down on sugar, which I think is right. And, the artificialness and frankly, the impact on taste that a lot of the artificial sweeteners. And for me personally, as somebody that kind of owns the product at the company, it's a trade-off, but I think for me, delivering a really natural, authentic, cocktail experience. Like, so for example, Laura, the Kentucky Mule, it's made with fresh ginger, right? And so that's, what's ultimately delivering that warming burn. And I think that there's always going to be innovation for us to kind of look at other, ways of sweetening it. But I think at the end of the day, the most important thing for us is giving people as good of an experience with a non-alc cocktail as with an alcoholic cocktail.
1,000%.
Yeah.
We have a great question that popped up in the chat, and Haylee, I was wondering if you wanted to take this from Peter, or rather ask it, and you both can answer it because you do this more.
I'm curious what you each think about NA product social media accounts. What sort of community engagements or conversations would you like to see brands encourage or engage in more frequently?
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't know how to quite answer it. What sort of community engagements or conversations would you like to see brands? I'd like to see brands talk more about the culture of drinking. Kind of like what we're talking about here today. I think some brands do and some brands don't, but I think that's the most fascinating piece, is examining our own culture and having conversations around that.
Yeah, it's an interesting, like, why the three of us could be at a bus stop right now, but if we each had a cocktail in our hand, alcoholic or not, it would be an elevated experience, right? And I think that, brands ultimately leaning into the culture of community, of why cocktails are such a wonderful part of being a community, why they elevate situations. And, one of the things that we have on tap for this year, that might kind of scratch the itch of the question a little bit, is starting to tell a little bit more of the story around the source of each one of our spirits.
Mm.
Our ingredients are real natural ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
Our, agave comes from Jalisco, from a farmer who actually went and, farmed the agave crops. And I think for us telling those stories, because it's, what's kind of interesting about the non-alc space, or for brands like us, who have a gin, a tequila, a bourbon, that doesn't exist in the alcohol world, right? There's usually, Gordon's is a brand of gin and Bullet is a brand of bourbon, and they kind of tell those stories. We have a lot of stories that we need to tell, because ultimately we very quickly, pretty young in our age, are playing in right now 5, different realms with a different terroir for each one. So telling those stories, I think, is going to be really important for us in terms of, opening up to the world that, just like the alcohol, our alcoholic equivalents, this stuff comes from the earth, and it comes from humanity, of somebody actually tending to that crop and, and bringing it to the supply chain.
Yeah. I love
that. That really warms the heart to think about that it's more than just, tinkering in a lab somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's coming from the earth. Do you know Tawny Mylan? Have you met Tawny, the author of
mm-hmm. I've got a copy of Dry Humping on my table, and my wife walked by the other day and looked at it, go, because we actually had it on set for a shoot, and I got kind of the side eye for why I would have a copy of Dry Humping. But
best title ever. No. And not sure if you knew, but she and her husband launched a drink called
Parentheses. Yep.
Yeah, so she says, great combo. Loving the margarita RTD so much. Mylan, any non-social media marketing tips for an indie NA brand with limited funds?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, it might be easy to confuse Free Spirits with as a brand that has resources, but we are really, just like so many, we got to be really smart with how we do it. In a perfect world, I'd be out there doing Super Bowl spots, or but we're obviously not that in a spot like that. And so I think the really where the rubber hits the road, Tawny, is trade marketing. I think that if you've got $1 of marketing dollars to spend, demos, the hardworking stuff, right? Demos at point of sale are a great way to drive it. And we work really hard to kind of put our backs into that. It really, and it sounds cliche, and it kind of is, but it's really about trial. And so the kind of event marketing, people, you want people to discover your brand in the right environment. So unlike my bus stop comment, like, yeah, it's okay. But if I discover Parentheses at New York's coolest, little cocktail bar, all that melds in my mind to something better. It's the same thing with visiting a great winery up in Napa. When you're back on the East Coast and you see that bottle of wine, you buy it because your experience when you kind of first learned about it is now baked into your mind. So I think, anything experiential that allows people to kind of taste it and experience the brand in a really cool experience. And frankly, the other piece of it too is I always tell the team, I'm like, we don't have enough money to be boring. And for a brand to break through, you need to be a bit provocative and be willing to piss some people off. And I don't say that flippantly. I just mean the best brands in the world have people that love them, and for those same reasons, people that don't. I remember early days, people were like, Liquid Death, it's a disgusting name, brings up awful imagery, whatever. And there's people that hate that brand, but there's a lot of people that love it. And you need to be willing to, to not try to be a brand for everybody.
Yeah. 100%.
Love that advice. I just wrote down, we don't have enough money to be boring. Like, that's something to live by for sure. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. Someone just asked the question, is the world ready for NA space influencer marketing? And I don't know if you've been on TikTok, Instagram, or any of the socials lately, Peter, but it's already there and it has been for a while. There's definitely a lot of influencer marketing. I had something and it completely felt, let's talk about taste a little bit, right? So you've won some awards, one of which I may or may not have been responsible for.
Wow.
I have no idea if I actually did taste that because it was completely blind, but you won gold at World Alcohol Free Awards.
Yep.
And you've also won gold at like 5 other trillion awards, like LA Spirits and London Spirits and literally everything. So that must feel really good. You know, you've worked hard for it.
Yeah, it's really lovely validation. And, I think it's an important thing to do. I think for me, though, the most satisfaction comes from, when I hear people, just enjoying it, like when I dial up Facebook and I see comments in the wild that say, oh my God, the Free Spirits tequila tastes amazing. And it's I've heard people say it's the best non-alcoholic on the market. Like that to me, puts me in such a satisfied, happy place, validation, all of that. And awards are always cool. But at the end of the day, it's really just, I know it sounds cliche, but it's, the individual that has the aha moment, right? Because I think there's still so many people to tell about this category. There's still so many people that kind of go, well, I'm not sober, so non-alcoholic tequila is not for me. Mm-hmm. And it's not until you get the opportunity to converse with them or to hit them with, the right kind of marketing messages where they're going to go, oh, I see. Yeah. Those evenings where I've had 2 cocktails and I want to have a third or a fourth. Oh yeah. That's totally for me. I buy that. I would do that. And so I think that when we're able to give people those aha moments of, oh my gosh, that margarita tasted exactly like the traditional margarita that I know and love. Maybe if I swapped 1 or 2 of those a night in, I would feel better. You're like, yeah, there you go. And so I think those are the kind of things that are ultimately the most interesting.
Plus there's V vitamins. Wow.
V vitamins. I love
you would think that I not had Free Spirits? I'm saying V vitamins. What is, just off the wall question, but what's the weirdest way you have used Free Spirits in any kind of drink you've made, or have you heard of any kind of like off the wall application of one of your products?
Popsicles.
Ooh, that is a great idea.
I love that.
And that is born from tragedy. And the tragedy is that, when we first started the business, started moving along, and it was maybe the January of 2021. And, you're starting to see orders come in, out, and sales are increasing. And then all of a sudden you started getting a couple emails from people saying, hey, my bottles arrived shattered and, which is a soggy, broken, wet cardboard box. And what we realized very soon is even if you're shipping, we were shipping from California, you're shipping the stuff UPS ground, and the truck would stop in Des Moines, Iowa overnight at negative 30 degrees. The stuff would freeze, the bottle would explode. And then when it got to Miami, it was just a soggy, broken bag of wet glass. And it was a total mess. We learned a lot about thermodynamics and how to pack our stuff and how to distribute our products to sub warehouses, all of that. But the really happy part of it was non-alcoholic cocktail popsicles.
Because as we know, without the alcohol, it will freeze. And I know that there are some folks out there in our wider ecosystem who are working or trying to work on some sort of solution to prevent that happening when in transit in the winter. But now I want to make some spirit of, maybe can I just use the RTD? I mean, can you freeze something that is carbonated?
Sure.
It just won't have the bubbles when you remove it. Right.
Yeah.
I guess. So I'm gonna have to make some in the like crazy summer months.
Yeah. Definitely using that tequila for popsicles.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like with watermelon and lime and tequila, that could be a fun summer.
Yeah, for sure.
Fun summer popsicle. Yeah.
Do you have more questions about formulation, Laura? Or
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm it sounds like, you've mentioned, Mylan, that you kind of operate like a tech company where you're always iterating and coming up with something new. Did you reformulate everything when you sort of launched the new bottles, and sort of what was that process like? And at the same time, I know that when you relaunched everything, you launched a new spirit as well, right? The Vermouth Rosso?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. It's, I kind of, in all candor, I kind of put our products into two categories, kind of first generation and second generation. With the tequila, we landed on an innovation there in terms of how we extract the core essence of agave and vanilla and the core kind of, pieces of it that is a big changer. And so you ultimately see, a big change in how it shows up in terms of the authenticity of it, the strength of it, because as we know, like alcohol conveys flavor in a great way. Sugar conveys flavor in a great way. We can't really rely on too much of either. Mm-hmm. So how do you convey flavor in a really big way? And so with the tequila, we found a great innovation, and we're really, really happy that tequila is just, definitely one of our favorite children at the moment. Mm-hmm. But what we've done now is taken that core learning, and we're in the process of applying that to the bourbon and to the gin. Right. And so in third quarter of this year, we're going to be reintroducing kind of the second generation of the bourbon and the gin, which, stand proudly with, the tequila. And then the Milano and the Vermouth Rosso are also kind of in that second generation already. And so, I think that early days, I think like all of us, man, you kind of, you look at your product portfolio and you go, it's really good. It's what we can do for now, knowing that you can do better. But I think personally, we're now at a place where I am very proud of and confident in the entire lineup, to where, we always used to do the whole like, soft shoe hustle of like, well, it's good, but it's actually meant for cocktails. Like, I think we're at a place now where I can very proudly put the tequila or any of our SKUs in front of somebody and go, drink it neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could definitely drink this one neat for sure.
Yeah.
Which is rare. I feel rare for a lot of brands, you don't want to sit on it.
We have a question about food. So Jeff asks, have you tried any food recipes using your products? I noticed many cocktail recipes out in the wild, but there are people who may love rum cakes, for example, but don't want the alcohol.
Yeah, no, totally. What's really interesting, and I haven't thought about this in forever, but early days, a bakery chain of the Midwest reached out because they were making some kind of a tequila cake, and they, for that exact reason, and they bought a couple pallets, literally bought a couple pallets of the tequila, and made thousands of cakes out of it. And in all honesty, I don't actually remember because I don't think I got to try it.
Oh,
But
bummer.
I thought that was going to be kind of the start of an interesting little kind of, revenue stream. It never really took off because, we're kind of so focused on just fulfilling the current demand kind of in traditional ways. But I think it's a great, idea. I mean, when you cook with spirits, most of the alcohol burns off anyway. But for those that really, really, truly want to keep it non-alcoholic, that's a really interesting option. But I think maybe Jeff, what's even more interesting is, we live in this world where food and wine pairing or food and cocktail pairing is such a thing. But when you really talk to chefs, we realize like alcohol numbs your palate. So, we've got a pretty strong point of view that pairing non-alcoholic cocktails with food is actually a much better experience because you're getting the full experience of both versus a numbed experience with alcoholic.
Wow, I've never thought about that.
That is fascinating. Yeah, I think I've been to a non-alcoholic pairing dinner before, which was like one of the most fun things ever. There need to be more of those because you're right. And I'm sure that people aren't, with a pairing dinner, they're not like, downing bottles and bottles and bottles of wine. Maybe they are, but still, if you want the purest food and wine pairing, have it with non-alc. I was wondering, Haylee, do you have any additional questions for Mylan? I was curious if Mylan had any questions for us and or the audience.
I was just going to make a quick comment about how great the packaging is because you can read it and understand it so quickly and easily. I know it's non-alcoholic tequila easily. So I just wanted to make that comment on the branding and the work that was done there. But happy to take any questions if anyone has questions for me as well. Or Laura.
I mean, I think as they come in, I think one of the objectives in the rebrand was, obviously we have a job to make sure people know Free Spirits and, have a connection with the brand. But we also wanted to make sure that, in this early stage of the category, that you can walk and see it on the aisle and kind of go, oh, that is non-alcoholic tequila. I get it. It's just trying to make it easy for people.
Yeah, there are a lot of brands where you have to look for longer than 5 seconds to understand if it's non-alcoholic or not, which I know has been a problem for some. Did you say that you were the designer on this, or you said you did the early iteration of your design?
I did some early iteration stuff, but we've always had help. Coming from the advertising world, I've had the benefit of calling in some favors from some really talented folks. Matthew Wine, who designs our current stuff, is a great partner to me. He's got a really strong point of view on package design in terms of, I'm going to butcher it, but it's basically like, seeing the brand from afar, seeing it from medium, seeing it from close,
right?
And needing to be identifiable and legible and all of that. And so I think for us, as you look at the nuance of the current package, and then as is more bold in the RTDs, those patterns that if you look closely, that pattern is agave and lime. If you look at the Kentucky Mule, it's barrels and it's ginger. If you look at the RTDs, there's really faint hints of agave plants and things like that. And so really leaning into those rich, interesting, little patterns is something we're moving forward with in the brand.
Yeah, especially for the ready to drink, you can have a little bit more fun with those designs.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Sweet.
Do you want to ask anything of the audience, Mylan? Anything or any kind of call to action that you want folks to know or be on the lookout for? The most important thing for us is to hear from the community of what's working about Free Spirits and what's not, and what you'd like to see, both in terms of how and where we show up and the product, how the product performs, and what products we do or don't have. So I'd love to hear from anybody that wants to share, in anywhere in that area.
Cool.
Awesome.
Sweet. Well,
I hope you had fun, and I hope this is the most fun podcast you've ever done.
Absolutely.
I'm just joking. Thank you so much for being on. I love everything. I have a few of these left. I'm going to take on my road trip, stash in the cooler, and alternate my drinking with my non-drinking.
Terrific. Yeah. The best trick is to put it in an actual cocktail glass and drive down the highway with it on the ledge.
Yeah.
Do that.
Well, thank you again, Mylan. We really appreciated having you on. And by the way, Charlotte says, can the coffee Negroni. Agreed.
So I will share. There's 2 more RTDs in the mix, and espresso is one of the core ingredients of the next one.
Thank you, God. I love coffee anything. I am so here for that. Yeah. Oh, one final thing. Okay, so people are just coming out of the woodwork now. Yeah. Any interest in a THC spirit?
So, I think that the way we've kind of set this whole thing up is, when we make our spirits, the functional ingredients right now are B3 and B6. At some point in the future, they will evolve. I don't rule out any kind of THC or CBD, skew, when the time is right, or if we believe that there's a demand for it. For right now, I think we're really just focused on, the current portfolio and evolving the functional piece of it. But it's something we think about for sure.
Awesome. Lots to be excited about for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Laura. Anything to add?
I'm just super excited that you came and joined us, Mylan, and all of you from our wonderful LinkedIn audience and YouTube audience. If you are looking for free spirits, you can probably find Store Finder on their website. Order it directly from them. If you want to find a non-alcoholic bottle shop near you, please go to zeroproofnation.com and visit that global map, which I'm very proud to say just surpassed 71,000 views.
Nice. Congratulations.
Wow. Very exciting. So please find your local non-alc bottle shop and or order directly from Mylan and his team. And with that, I think we're out.
Thank you both. It was super fun to chat with you both.
Good. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right. Bye everyone.
Bye everybody.